Everybody. Welcome. My name is Tim Errickson. I am the artistic director of the Boomerang Theater Company, and I am here today with my friend, director Scott Ebersold. How are you, buddy?
Hey, how are you? I feel like I should
Yeah, you want to pop up? Want to do it again?
Okay, that's fine.
Here's a little bit about Scott. Scott Ebersold is a theater director specializing in new plays and musicals and reinventing classics. Off-Broadway, he directed the View Upstairs, the premiere of The View Upstairs. He is a CSC associate artist and a founder of Packawallop Productions, which is a longtime indie theater sort of like all-star team for a while. So many projects.
Well, it's currently not actually functioning at the moment, but
right.
It started out a million years ago as both a theater and film production company, and there was like a whole film branch and a whole theater branch, and then it became the theater branch, and it keeps taking on new lives. But
how did it start?
It was a bunch of friends and I at NYU. I'm wondering how the film. Well, my roommate was a film major, so that must be how the film part started. And we liked working together, and we wanted to find a way to be a collective. Yeah, and we came together and tried to figure it out.
And was it a combination of actors, directors, writers?
Yeah, it was film directors, theater directors, designers, writers, and actors.
Okay. And so how many years are you guys actively producing? You don't have to count.
Well, I feel like there's Packawallop Phase 1 and Packawallop Phase 2. That It was founded in 1995. And there were a number of years that we were working as this dual organization. We partnered with HBO and did a film festival at one time. Yeah. And then it sort of like reemerged. Alejandro Morales and I became co-artistic directors, and it sort of shifted focus, and we became completely a theater company. And we're in the beginning, we were doing mostly the work of Alejandro and the ensemble members, and then we started to branch out and produce other people like Adam Simkowitz and Carrie Bentley.
And then when were you in residence at the 14th Street Y for a while, right?
Yeah, that was that was like our most prolific period of time. We had like 2 years where we administered the space in conjunction with the Hypothetical Theater Company, or actually on their behalf. And whenever the space wasn't rented, we could go in there, and that's when we started our development group, the PAC, which I think is the thing that I'm probably the most proud of what Packawallop did. It was a group of writers, directors, and actors who would meet once a month to share work, and anyone could bring in work, and we would discuss it. And a lot of plays were like born in that development group, which lasted, I think, 4 years or so. And I mean, that was really because we had this access to space, we could just open up the doors and have all those people come in. Yeah. So that was a really great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know space is such the commodity, even now in the middle of this pandemic, trying to get people together in one place is challenging always.
Yeah.
At the time it was being able to afford it, but now it's a different challenge altogether.
Right.
So pandemic, how are you holding up? How have you been during all this?
The first couple of months, I was like, nothing's different. I just am doing everything the same. The projects that I was working on continued their development through Zoom, and we would have readings, and I would have meetings with the writers, and there would be dramaturgical discussions, and I felt like I was seeing like on social media, like all these posts about how bored people were, and I was like, I'm not bored at all. I'm still doing everything I always do. I'm busier than ever. And then like summer came, and it's like, it's summer vacation. And I think it really started like when August was coming to a close, and I knew that like the new theater season would be starting, and it really wasn't. That's when I really I was like, oh, this is really going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's when I think it got harder. Like, I don't know. and that's when I got harder. And I think that the work slowed down, and I think that I became like sort of more reflexive, thinking about my relationship to theater and what kind of theater is important to me. And I think I've used the time to like, well, I have used the time to think about like why I fell in love with theater in the first place. And I'm not going to go all the way back to second grade when I played Linus and the Great Pumpkin, but like maybe in high school when I was in the school musicals, I really found this sense of community and home. And I think that's really important. And I feel like coming out of the pandemic, that's what I want to look forward to in my collaborations, is to we build all these little families when we create productions, and like you're always like you're part of this thing, and then sometimes those families fall apart and you don't see those people for days, but there's a sense of belonging. And I feel like that it's that element of this art form, that being a part of something, a part of a team, that I'm really looking forward to when we get back together.
Yeah, Sarah was sitting on the couch last night, and we're watching the Super Bowl. We're recording this on Monday, the 8th of February, and we were watching the Super Bowl last night, and commercials and like unity and people being together. And she just turned and she said, "I just miss people so much."
Yeah.
I'm people.
But you're the same people.
It's the same people over and over again. So
yes.
Yeah, so I totally get that. I mean, like those little families that you make for 5, 8, 10 weeks become big parts of your life.
Yeah, I miss that.
So how are you staying creative through all this? I mean, are you still being creative? Like, are you working on things, or like, how is it?
Yeah, there's some of the projects that I had going on before. I was like in the middle of directing a show that Nathan Lee Graham created when Broadway closed down. We were at a studio,
wow,
actually in Times Square. It was so weird being in Times Square with like the first time I had seen it with no people, because Broadway had already closed down that week, and we were still going to rehearsal. And I thought, am I killing myself by going to rehearsal? It was like that crazy time. So we hope that project picks up again when we're back to being able to be in the room with each other. And I started writing, which is something I had never really done before. After like years of giving advice and comments and dramaturgical feedback to playwrights, I started writing, and it's been interesting. The idea is going to be a half-hour comedy series. It's for television. And one of the things that I realized while I was working on it was like when I direct, I think I'm painting on the stage. It's like, what is the audience going to see first, and how can I draw their attention there, and what are they going to see next? And that's what's the relationship between that first thing and the second thing, and how does that create story, or what is the person going to do first and next and third to help tell the character? And so all of those skills, I was surprised to find I was using them in writing. It was like I had to think about like, what's the first image on the screen, and like if we see these 3 images in sequence, will it give us enough information, or will it lead us down one path to think something and something becomes something else? It was really fascinating. That I was like, wow, I feel like I'm directing like with words while I was writing. So that was a cool discovery, I think.
And you're obviously a very visual person from your directing. Do you find, obviously that translates over on some level, you're saying, to how you're writing? Do you think?
Yes, totally. That's exactly. It's like I have to visualize. I'm visualizing the TV show and how the information presents itself visually, because you can't just rely on like language, especially in an art form like television. And it's something that I'm not trained in, but like some things just started clicking in my brain when I started working on it.
And how has the process been of taking those images and putting them into word form on a page? Has that been something you found very natural, or something that was more of a hurdle?
I think I would say that it was a challenge, but that I was like, I had this sense of self-awareness about it. I was like, as I was doing it, I was like, this really feels a lot like directing. And then I was like, it is directing, except there's no one else in the room. And um, and no one to question what I'm saying. It's just me making all the decisions. Um, so I guess challenging was the word, but not challenging in a good way.
Had you ever taken writing classes or any kind of done any writing like this before?
No,
Undergrad?
never. I mean, my undergrad, I guess we had to take, I think it was called writing workshop.
Mhm.
And I got put in an advanced writing workshop. So I don't know.
There you go.
But that was really my only writing experience prior to that.
That's awesome. So when you are writing, or if you're working on directing or whatever, what's your process like? Do you like to do it? Do you like to work on things in the morning, or do you more of a late night, up all night till the, with the crows and the cows?
Um,
I don't know why it's
I
crows.
tend to, weirdly, since I'm a night person, I feel like I tend to be more creative earlier in the day.
Mm-hmm.
That feels disingenuous when I say that, but well, because I feel like there's like the dreaming part that happens at night, and then there's the doing part that happens in the day. It's like the time when my mind can kind of wander later in the evening, and then there's the focusing time when I'm actually, touching a keyboard or reading a script or analyzing a text.
Do you find that having written now, it changes the way that you read scripts?
Well, I definitely think it gives me a really great appreciation for the process of playwriting, and that the having the discipline to sit there and do it, because it's so easy to forget, what's that word, procrastinate, than it is to actually flesh out your ideas.
Yeah.
So there's so many writers that I've worked with who, like, you give them a note and they come back the next day with 25 new pages, and I'm very impressed with them.
Yeah, for sure. When you're writing, do you want music on, or do you want it to be super quiet, or something in the middle?
Super quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, my partner Barry and I, like, I think we have totally different, like, so he's now working from home. He's actually in a meeting right now. You might hear a voice in the background. And so he has a desk. We bought him a desk, and he's like looking out over the view out of the bedroom. And I've actually found that in our foyer, we have this little gate leg table. And I like to write there because it's like dark and in the back and in a corner, and I'm totally undisturbed, and there's nothing but me and the computer in front of me. And I find that like really inspirational. And he thought I was crazy when I was like setting up myself back there, that I was putting myself in a prison. And I was like, no, I love it. So we definitely have a different opinion about where we need to work.
Yeah.
It feels very library-like back there to me.
Yeah, we're working from home at the same time. Sarah's over near the lights, and I'm here in the kitchen. And invariably, what happens is I will constantly see dirty dishes and be like, I can't get anything done because those dishes are going to fucking destroy me, and I have to do it. So the beauty of it is we have clean dishes all the time. I don't get any writing.
Right, exactly.
But the oven, the stovetop is clean.
Yeah, I feel the same way about vacuuming, but we got a Roomba, and so for Christmas, and it can vacuum but of course I just watch it vacuum instead of. I'm like, is it doing okay?
How is it having a Roomba? We've always fantasized about getting one, and we always thought that's just going to drive us crazy.
I really like it. The floor, because I hate crumbs on the floor. So I don't think it does as good a job as if like we took out the big monster vacuum.
Yeah.
But like, because we have cats, and they, have to, they drop there's little litter that clings to their paws, and you find it everywhere. It's really good for that sort of stuff.
Do they like it? Do they like the Roomba?
They are interested in it. They hate the vacuum, but
Okay.
they come out and they like look at it. And they haven't ridden it or anything like that. One time it was sort of like a standoff. One of them was sitting there looking at it, and it was coming directly toward her, and she didn't move. And when it hits something, it bounces and turns the other way, and she just like let it happen. So I was impressed that she
Playing chicken and the cat won.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tales from Pandemic.
Yes, Tales from Pandemic, for sure.
So when you're working on things, and especially now writing, I feel like this happens for me more as a writer than it did and it does as a director or a producer. If you get stuck at a point, or you hit a wall, or you sort of, writer's block is sort of a colloquialism, but it's not exactly what I'm talking about. But anytime you feel like a resistance of some type, is there anything that you fall back on, or ideas that you sort of try to ground yourself with to sort of get refocused or keep moving?
I feel like it's like getting myself to sit there and just write words that, like, even if they're not the right words, to give myself permission to go down a path that maybe I'll not use, or write long enough that the thing that I'm trying to get to eventually comes out. I guess it's similar to my philosophy of being in a directing room. Is like, I don't ever feel like my answer is always going to be better than anybody else's answer, or that I'm going to give a direction and like suddenly it's going to be perfect and we'll move on to the next thing. I feel like it's like, well, let's try this. Oh, well, that didn't work, so let's try something else, and not be super precious about it. But I feel like it's okay to make mistakes. And I guess since I'm working with myself, and when I'm writing, it's giving myself permission to make mistakes, which is hard for a Virgo. But
yeah, it's hard for everybody, believe me, Capricorns as well. When you're working on something, do you have other people look at things and then give you feedback before you start rewriting or retinkering with things, or have you not gotten to that point yet?
I haven't gotten to the point where I was ready to share my writing like outside of this house, but I have shared it with Barry, and so I've gotten some feedback from there. Yeah.
Okay.
I think feedback is definitely important.
Yeah. And it must be super interesting as a person who has given so much feedback over the years to receive feedback like that.
Yeah.
And especially on some, when it's one of the first things you've written, it's sort of how vulnerable it can be, or how personal things can be, and
right.
It's a fascinating journey. I'm super interested to hear how it goes for you.
Oh, I'm interested to see how it goes too. It's all sort of a new beginning for me.
Had you ever worked on any television projects, or did you know the sort of structure and language of television before you started writing?
I've made a couple of short films, and I guess I always knew that there was like 3 acts to a half-hour comedy. I don't know how I knew that. It's like one of those things I absorbed from the world.
Yeah.
And so I know that you kind of have to build to those 3 inflection points or climaxes, and then wrap it up in the third. I think they call them acts. And wrap them up in the third act.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any training in it, but I guess from observing television and seeing how I'm a very observant person, which is probably why I'm a director.
Yeah.
I think I just picked it up from watching.
Yeah. Have you, with this all going on in both the writing and the directing, have you worked on any kind of Zoom projects or virtual things throughout this all, or the?
Yeah, we did. I did especially in the first 4 months, we had a number of Zoom rehearsals for a musical where we discovered singing is not possible. Um, um, but more so in the beginning than now. I haven't actually done like a recorded Zoom play, although I did. Gary Sunshine wrote a play specifically for Zoom, and I love it. I read it. It could actually be done either in Zoom or on stage, but he wrote it specifically for Zoom. So he's someone from like back in the founding of Packawalla. So it was nice to reconnect with him, but also to reconnect with his writing. And I would love to do that. I would love to be able to take something like that play and do it in this format. I think it would require, though, someone who knows how to use this format much more than I do.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Over the time that we've been playing with it, you know, things that sort of pop up from a directorial point of view, because you are looking at the box, right? Like,
right.
I would imagine the short films and the things that you've done probably would lend themselves to you picking it up very quickly because of concentration and the things you're talking about in terms of images and your visual thinking, like how things appear in the box and how things, you know,
and what doesn't appear in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started going down the road in my mind about how I would do it because Gary's play has a section that, that's another radio play. So there's another play that I was thinking about that has a sort of radio play element to it, and then there's the real characters, and like how would you do the radio play versus the real play when the same characters are playing with characters in the Zoom environment. I'm not sure the answer to that question yet, but I think that you wouldn't be able to see the actors or something.
Yeah, it feels like limitation sometimes, but the more you poke at it, I think sometimes you find the more options there are, you know, and because it's so limiting, it can be sort of creatively freeing in a way because you can fuck with things, you know, and just defy expectations because people think that they know what's going to come up, you know.
Well, I mean, that makes sense because I feel like our limitations are sort of what forces creativity in a way that even, you know, not COVID world.
What's that like? I vaguely remember the not COVID.
You know, like where there's a brick wall on stage left, but so no one can enter from that side, or you come up with this really great idea.
That's right. Everyone comes to the audience. That's right.
Right.
All right, my friend. Well, I appreciate this. Thank you so much for
yeah, it was fun talking to you.
Anything you want to plug? Anybody? Where can people find more of your work if they were looking to get in touch or see what you've done? Or
well, you can always find me on either Instagram or Facebook, and there's also my website, which is myname.com. Scott Ebersold.
I was like, make sure people know. Yes.
Yeah. And you know, I really hope that of course, the title of the play that I was working on last has totally gone out of my head as I'm talking to you. Oh, I hope that Nat Queen Cole comes around again. I hope that we had plans to bring that back, and I really hope that happens soon.
That is an amazing title.
Nat Queen Cole.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really fun.
And how far along into rehearsal were you?
We had done a week-long workshop, and we're preparing for public presentations, and then Broadway closed. And then I think the state said you could have 50 people or less gather in a room. And so we did a reading for 50 people. And the writer, Stan Zimmerman, and I and Nathan felt like, you know, we learned what we needed. We learned what we needed to learn about doing this on its feet. But for safety's sake, I think we need to stop there. And so we did.
That's amazing. I'm loving, I don't love, but I certainly am fascinated by people's stories of what they were doing and what they were working on right up to the moment of, you know, the snap off, you know, for the switch. Yeah. We were about to do a Kristen Palmer workshop of a new play of hers on the Saturday, the 14th of March, 14th to 15th. And I just remember we called everybody on the 13th and we're like, we can't do this. And
yeah. Can you believe that we're almost up to a year now?
No, and I can't believe it's crazy thinking that it's probably going to be another whatever, 6, 7, 8 months, maybe
Yeah.
10 months, who knows? But yeah, it's mind-boggling in a way.
Yeah.
And I wonder how we're gonna look back on this time, whether we're gonna feel like we were creative, or whether we feel like we were like the things that come out of it will they be interesting, or like
Or will it
yeah,
change the way we work? That it's so like, even like, I don't know why, like even my meeting with even when I see my doctor now, I see him virtually sometimes, and it's sort of makes, in some ways the things have become more convenient, that, like, so will we continue to use, well, and it's a sort of a two-pronged thought, will we continue to use digital technology for meetings and of things that we might otherwise have traveled to do, until we get to the point where we need to be together to rehearse? And then also, like, will our theatrical language also be affected by, because I felt like theater there was more and more projection in digital images in theater before COVID. So I'm wondering what's going to happen after having a whole year of only digital images. Will we be so sick of digital that we want only people, or will we go even further in sort of blending adding those elements into our live experience?
yeah, I do think we're gonna have a call for spectacle in a lot of ways, because perhaps because we're so used to just looking at screens now and anything can be on it, that when you get into a live space, it may have to be fantastical to reach us. But I don't know. It's going to be fascinating, and I do think we're going to keep doing Zoom workshopping of plays for a while.
Yeah.
Inexpensive. You can get people from anywhere, and why not? Up to a certain point. Say.
Yeah, and you know what? I come from an Italian American family, even though my last name is totally German, but it's my mother's side of the family was totally Italian American, and so we always had Sunday dinner. Every Sunday of my childhood, we went to my grandparents' house, my uncle's house, or our house. And so every Sunday of the pandemic, my parents and I have had Sunday dinner together,
Oh, wow.
which is something that I've always wanted to do. Like, I think it was Isaac Mizrahi, who, when he first moved to the city, his mother told him if he like made macaroni and cheese on every Sunday night and it was good and invited friends over, he'd always have friends or something like that. And so I remember hearing something like that about him and thinking about my Sunday dinners and always wanting to find a way to make Sunday dinner happen in New York City. And it somehow just never really, worked out as a regular thing. But then for it to sort of, because of technology, for it to work out with my actual parents, it's been really fun. We make the same meal. It's spaghetti, meatballs, sausage, the whole, big pot of sauce on the stove. Yeah. My mother makes one of hers and I make one. And actually our friend in Florida joins us and he makes a pot. And so we're eating the same thing at the same time, which sort of makes it feel like we're actually together in a weird way.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's been nice.
And have you done that the whole time through pandemic?
Every Sunday, yeah.
That is great.
Yeah. And then on Thanksgiving, we even invited our friends from Barcelona. So we had like this for Thanksgiving dinner, because it also happens to be his birthday. And so we had a birthday party / Thanksgiving dinner like across the world, which we would not have been able to do if it wasn't for all this technology.
Yeah, that is incredible. That sounds like a great way to sort of try and make, lemonade out of lemons in a lot of ways,
Yeah. And last night's was, a special Sunday dinner because there was a Super Bowl and everybody else knew what was going on. So it's good.
There was a football game. That's all you really need to know.
Yeah.
You got the gist of it. So.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
Say hi to Sarah.